everybody, thank you all so much for coming. My name is Maggie Alderson, I know most of you, which is lovely. I'm absolutely thrilled to see so many people here today. I think with the terrible weather and with the awful thing that happened on Friday that I think's left everyone feeling very stirred up, I wasn't sure anyone would come, and it's absolutely inspiring to see a nearly full room. The reason that we called this meeting is that the campaign, which has been going on since, I think it was April 2013 that I first... 14.
Yeah. Seems that long.
Yeah, so nearly 18 months, and this has been going on. It started off with what seemed like a couple of clear issues, and over the last few months it has ballooned into this incredibly complex, well, sometimes it feels like a war that we're fighting. And even though I'm on the committee with these amazing people, and some who are in the room who aren't on the committee but make incredible contributions, not looking at anyone in particular, I get daily emails from them, and I'm still really confused and combobulated about it all, because we're fighting on so many fronts now. With various departments of Hastings Borough Council, trying to get help from various public bodies who we feel should be behind our campaign and just aren't. What's English heritage called these days?
Historic England.
Historic England and Natural England particularly spring to mind. We've got so many different things going on, people that were trying to get to speak to us, people who were trying to get to help us. It's so complicated. And I have to admit that there have been times over the last few months when I felt too depressed to go for a walk up on the East Hill, which used to be my great letting off of steam thing to do. I couldn't do it anymore because it made me depressed and stressed. And there have been several occasions I've just thought, I give up. I feel like I'm living in some kind of Orwellian, Kafkaesque nightmare, and it made me doubt the whole democratic process of local government. I thought, I'm just going to pack it all in. And every time I feel like that, and I start drafting my resignation email to these people, something happens. And the last thing that happened was that Jack O'Dowd posted this beautiful picture on the Facebook page that she took one early evening in Ecclesbourne Meadow. I don't know if you can see it. And somebody else from the group immediately was able to say that's a short-eared owl, which is a native British bird, which I believe is a protected species. And then another member of the group was able to give us more information that this owl has very particular requirements for its hunting. And I looked at that picture and I felt quite tearful. And I thought, if we hadn't carried on fighting the bunker, still to be won, but if we hadn't fought it, that house, if you call it that, could, the very evening that Jack took that picture, been full of holidaymakers, with all the enormous windows open on the huge balconies, all the lights on, loud music playing, and that owl would not have been hunting in Ecclesbourne Meadow. So that one picture, posted by a very loyal member of the group, inspired me to keep going. And every time I feel I'm having one of those little dips, something like that happens. And I think everyone in this room must feel the same, because that's why we're all here. So thank you all so much for coming. We haven't done a proper agenda, because for all the reasons formally stated, there's just so much to discuss. It was too hard even to do an agenda. But Bob Okines here has put together a fantastic presentation trying to make us all understand the complexity of what we are fighting to preserve our precious area of outstanding natural beauty. Exactly. Dogs love to walk. So Bob is going to do that presentation next, and I understand that there will be opportunities to ask questions during it. Then Councillor Liam Atkin is going to make a presentation. He's a Conservative councillor. We did ask councillors from other parties to attend, but they were unable to find the time. At the very end, then there'll be questions, discussions. This is also our AGM, which we will tack on at the end. I will speak about those issues then. So over to Bob.
Right, good afternoon. It's great to see so many people here. Firstly, I'd like to just introduce myself. I'm Bob O'Kines. Myself and my wife Lynn have been involved with the campaign from a very early date in there. Our input was actually requested by Chris, who was trying to do it on his own, basically, because we had similar sort of contacts with the council before. But that's sort of history. But first question is, can everybody see the screen and can everybody hear me? If you want the lights down, the light switch is by the door, or do you need the lights down, or can you all see the screen?
Can you move the screen that way?
Oh, unfortunately not. It took us an age to actually get it up to that size. Is it? Anybody else can't see the screen? Is that okay? Right. This is Ecclesbourne Glen. The view from the building. We're not going to call it a holiday let ever again. It's the bunker. And you'll know why, because of what it looks like. This presentation is going to talk a little bit about the bunker house, as we call it, just to explain what's happened and where it's going. But the bulk of the meeting is going to be about the landslide and what's happening further down in the glen. But 5-10 minutes or so just to explain the bunker house, as we call it. Before we do anything, in case you're not sure, this is the country park, which is quite a huge area, all accessed from the bottom of the old town down here where the lift is. In theory, the only access to the country park from the walkers in the old town is through these footpaths, which are now closed. And that is our sole aim in this campaign, really, is to get these footpaths back open again, so that Ecclesbourne Glen is no longer cut off from the country park by the footpaths. Whether it will happen or not is a little bit in the land of the gods, but we want to change it so that things will happen. Our campaign area is Ecclesbourne Glen, which is around here. There's 2 caravan sites within the Ecclesbourne Glen area. There's Hastings Caravan Park, which is about here, and there's Rocklands Caravan Park, which is about there. I make no bones about running Rocklands down, unfortunately. We believe that the work that happened on Rocklands Caravan Park has caused the devastation within the Glen. And I make no apologies for talking about Rocklands derogatory, I'm afraid. However, it's not all Rocklands' fault. We feel a lot of the blame is with the way it's been dealt with Hastings Borough Council. And we'll come back onto that a little bit later on in the presentation. I'm not even going to say anymore. That size says it all. Everybody agrees with us that this building should not be there. Wrong place, wrong type of building. It might look good in South France or in Devon or somewhere where it fits, but not on our East Hill. That's another view of the building from the other side of the valley. This photograph is taken with a long lens from Ecclesbourne Meadow, where the owl was seen. And the house here, you can see that they've never even done a window in there. There's no window in that side, so we're pretty certain they've never really, when they stopped building it, they agreed really that the chances are it's going to come down because they didn't do any further development on it. We'll come back to that picture in a little bit, away from the house. The history of the site, the building, very, very briefly, and oh, by the way, I'm going to come back. I really want this my talk to be interactive. So if anybody's got any questions, don't wait till the end to ask questions. Just please either put your hand up or shout out and let yourself be heard, because it's your meeting as well as ours. So we really do want this to be interactive. The history of this house was in 2012. The developers put in an application form to build this house, or a house similar to it, on the corner of the East Hill. There was 2 or 3 letters went into the council, objections from members of the public, and we believe that because those 2 or 3 objections went in, the council took it on themselves to actually refuse this under delegated powers, so that a year, 6 months later, they can put it back on the table and hope nobody notices. Very cleverly, they put it in over Christmas, and we believe the council was involved in the decision to put it in over Christmas. Very few people knew about it. Those who did know about it were on holiday, or the letters went off to the wrong addresses. It went in over Christmas, and the same different members within the officers, or rather different officers within the same department, but it was the same department that refused it on the first application, then passed the application of this house bill. And this was Christmas 2012, and it was passed in January, February 2013. They then started building in the middle of 2014, possibly October 2014, before the conditions had been discharged. Just to explain what conditions are. When an application is passed by delegated powers or by committee, there are conditions that need to be accepted and agreed before the build can start by law. Rocklands didn't wait for these conditions to be discharged, they just started without the conditions being discharged. The conditions were things like the trees need to be a larger tree screening around the building, and what do? They cut all the trees down. And we've been fighting this, as you know, for the last 18 months. I'll go back to that because I missed that one. We made a big noise, as you all know, and in June 2014, the developers had put in a retrospective application to regularise the building that was there, because we proved that the building was not what they had planning permission for. The council refused to revoke the planning permission, even though it was, they agreed it wasn't right, but they refused to revoke it. But because the building wasn't to specification, the developers were allowed to put in a retrospective planning application to try and regularise the building to the plans that they had put in. We're all, our group and many of yourself, could see that what they got the planning permission for, or what they was trying to get this retrospective planning permission for, wasn't what they've actually built. It was different, but we couldn't get on site to have a look. But we made enough noises that they did actually agree to put in a retrospective planning application, and that was refused unanimously by committee, and a lot of us were down the town all of that day, and there was a big cheer and pints afterwards. However, within a short time, Hastings Borough Council allowed them to put in yet another retrospective planning application. This was after we had made so many noises that they had to get an independent audit done of the site, an independent remeasuring of the site. And the independent remeasuring proved that we were right. I think the council tried to get rid of us by doing this independent measuring, but it actually proved that we were right and they were wrong. Which meant the developers had to put in yet another retrospective planning application with now the accurate dimensions and the correct position. One of the things with this 1036 application was also to put the solar panels on the roof, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on. And that again was refused unanimously by committee. Sadly for the developer, they left it too late to put in an appeal against it, purely by mistake, purely a clerical error on the developer's side. They left it too late to put in an appeal on the decision by these developers, by the committee. Good for us, not so good for them, but it's their fault. However, the council, very shortly after the retrospective planning permission was refused, the council did impose an enforcement notice on the site owners virtually to tell them to pull the building down. And we're all chuffed to bits with that. However, they've got every right to appeal, and they did do so, but they didn't appeal against the building, they appealed against the enforcement notice. And that enforcement is now with the enforcement, I don't know what the department is, the planning inspectorate. And there is a public meeting to talk about this or finalise their appeal, and it's in Hastings at the Stade Hall on the 20th of January. That will be posted on our Facebook page, and everybody, all the members will be told about that nearer to the date. Everybody's welcome to come. Unfortunately, Slade Hall will only hold 80 people. That's a few more than we've got here today, but it's not a particularly big room, and I think a lot of people want to come. Next is question from the chair.
Yeah, can you tell me this public? Is it a public inquiry or an examination?
It's a public hearing. It's not public.
It's a public
It's
hearing.
a public hearing.
Are you going to be able to talk at that?
We will be invited to. We won't be invited to talk, but we can actually ask to talk.
Right. How will that process work? Do you know?
We have to ask the inspector on the day whether we can speak or not. At this stage, we don't know whether we'll be able to. It's up to him whether we can.
Really don't know at this stage. But we'll keep everybody informed on what we know is happening on the appeal. At the moment, it's a public appeal that's been heard 20th of January 16. And next, on a round of applause now. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah. I'm Steve Peake. I was the chairman of the Friends of the Country Park at the time the first plan application, just to give you a bit of detail there. And I opposed on behalf of the Friends that first plan application. So it was, they say that was one of the main reasons why it was refused. The second plan application, I didn't receive a copy of it. It came out at Christmas and it could easily have got lost. They said they posted it to me, but I didn't see it. And the council then gave permission for it, and when us Friends complained about it, they said, well, if you, the Friends, had opposed it again, it would have been rejected again. So we thought, well, in that case, does it mean whatever we say, the council will automatically follow? And we recently opposed the plan application to put up a large shed in the camping field on the northwest side of Barley Lane. But we opposed it and they agreed it. So whatever they were trying to imply about us being responsible for that,
You're definitely. You don't get the blame, definitely. It was quite intentional, in our opinion. They put it in the time over Christmas when nobody was really that bothered. The application was called demolition of a holiday let and replacement of a holiday let. Now, on a caravan site, people aren't even going to consider that that's a major thing. Maybe.
Can I also just remind everyone that on the original the planning application, 952, when this committee studied it, it was full of blatant lies.
Yeah.
Total lies.
Blatant lies, like, is there any vegetation around the building site? No.
Is it next
It was
is it next to the
astonishing
nature
lies.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, can I just say that we submitted a detailed evidence to Mrs. Bocelli, who was meant to be doing an independent review into planning processes. Considerable evidence about the lies and the misinformation and the mishandling of 952, all of which she failed to consider in her final report. We'll come on to the Bocelli thing later, but
yeah, just quickly, may I ask if the reasons for their appeal against the enforcement notice are available online?
It's all available online.
It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, if you, I can show you on here a little bit later on. If you want, I can show you on the screen how to find it. It's on the council planning website, and instead of clicking the application radar box or radio box, you click enforcements, and there's pages and pages of documents.
Okay.
Now, give the council their due on the appeal, the documents that the council have put forward for the appeal appear very, very good. They seem to have been written by an external barrister or somebody. They don't appear to be written by the same people that have had dealings before. And we do feel that the appeal will actually be overturned by the department because of the quality of the documents that have gone in by HBC and the poor quality of the documents that have gone in by the developer. There are numerous errors that are so clearly wrong on one side, and the council, we think they've done really well, but it's their fault that it's there in the first place. Next thing on the thing, when is it going to be demolished? The sooner the better. We haven't got a date for that, to be honest. The enforcement notice said something like 3 months from when the appeal notice was issued. If it's not challenged, if it's not challenged, then it's 3 months from when it goes down. So we're feeling it's going to be the same sort of date after the appeal. The appeal inspector, if he refuses it, he will actually put a date on there of when the building's going to be demolished, and I'm sure we'll all be up there with our cameras.
The picnic.
And picnic.
Tim?
Can you speak up some more?
You've probably come on to this anyway, but if the appeal is upheld against the enforcement notice,
Yes.
what does that actually mean? If that means the enforcement notice is invalid,
If the
but
appeal,
they still don't have permission, obviously.
No, they don't
What
have.
would their next?
it's a bit of a catch-22. Because they didn't appeal against the retrospective planning permission 406 or 1036, the building that's there is unlawful under any circumstances. So even if the enforcement notice is quashed, they still can't use the building. They physically are not allowed
Well,
to
they
use the
can't be
building.
forced to knock it down, but that
At this stage, it would go to another stage. We don't know. We've asked the question, we haven't had a response back. We have actually got 2 barristers that we've got involved that we can ask these sort of questions of as and when the time comes. But proper legal questions cost us money, so we're not going to ask those sort of questions unless we need to know. But we don't really think the appeal, but we can't, how long, we just don't know. Okay, so I would guess by, if everything goes okay, by March, April next year, that building will come down, which is brilliant. There is a problem, and that is that the 952 application, this one here, which they didn't build, they built something completely different, but that application is still a live, what's the word? Extant
Well, yeah.
permission. Our barristers have said that by building what they've done there, they've destroyed the chances of building 952 application. We haven't had a definite from that, but even the council say that it's very unlikely that they will be allowed to build that.
It's something we need to be aware of though, because my fear is if they were to try and rebuild 952, on past track record we can't rely on our council to fight it effectively, and we'd have to fight it ourselves again. But we've had good legal advice from 2 fronts. One that says the building, by building the bunker that actually is, it's opened a new chapter in the planning history, which effectively cancels 952. And from another source we've had, because there have been so many material changes since permission was granted for 952, not least the landslip and loss of vegetation and screening, and other changes on site, that 952 would be deemed invalid. But the problem is if the council did nothing and didn't challenge that in the courts and Rocklands went ahead, and given past track record they've been pretty spineless on following things up, there is a risk that 952 could be rebuilt, and that is something we've got to be very aware of.
Great question, Bob. Is it
Bob?
Bob,
One
question?
second, I'm going to come back off of that screen, please. Sorry, question. John?
When does 952 run out? Is it 3 years?
It's 3 years from when it was passed, which
So
was
it's
January. So
13th of February
13th of February
2016.
There may be a possibility.
virtually it's going to be, they need to knock it down to the floor and get the ground back to what it was before they started building to be allowed to start again.
Including reinstating the Iron Age
yes.
Hill Fort.
Yeah.
Unless they can prove that they did actually start it.
Which that's my fear. Rocklands could claim that
But then they shouldn't.
952 has already started, therefore the 3-year period is no longer
It
appropriate.
can't be started because it's in the wrong place.
Indeed, but again this relies on the HBC's will to counter Rockland's arguments on it. So that's where we are really. We're dependent on HBC's will to fight this.
We feel as though they cannot restore the land back because they've cut into the scheduled ancient monument, they've had to put retaining walls in, they physically cannot restore it to what it was before they built.
And they've removed the tree screening, which
Tree
was
screening's gone.
a condition of the application.
We think we've got a very strong legal case, and if they did start rebuilding, we would have to take it to law, unless the
There are
council
4
did.
more chairs down the front if anybody who's standing really wants to sit down. We'll look at the back, I say, because there are 4 more chairs down here. In fact, there's 5 because there's another chair here.
Come and join us.
Come and join us. Can everybody hear us all okay when we're talking? Yep. This is just a little animation that I done about a year ago, just to show people what it's like now, back to what it was as little as 2 years ago. That photograph you can see there was actually supplied by the developer with the application for 952 to show that the bungalow, which was there, was just not visible. I've got a letter from Richard behind you that wrote in and said, well, where was this building they was demolishing? There never was a building there because nobody knew it was there. It was hidden. Visible by aerial views, which we'll see in a few minutes, but it just wasn't visible. I'll show that again. That's before, that's now. I know it goes again. And this actually is not a proper photograph, because if you went back a year before that, you wouldn't see this either. This area here was covered by trees. These trees were taller. That building didn't exist. Further over here, there's loads of caravans that you can see now. None of it was visible. If you walked on the East Hill, Ecclesbourne Meadow, as little as 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, you knew there was a caravan site there, and you knew this house was there, but hardly visible. I'm going to leave the house at the moment because there's nothing more we can do. We've fought as best we can for you people and for ourselves and for the good of Hastings. At the moment, it's with the legal. There's nothing more we can do. So if there are any questions about the house you think of, stop me at any time or ask questions later on. There will be an open forum later on for people to talk. Google Earth is a really useful